There's a fire burning inside, isn't there? That restless heat that tells you nothing about your title, your position, or the little badge of authority stuck to your chest can hold a candle to what needs to happen next. The truth is brutal, but it's a truth that's aching to be faced. Right now, leadership as we once knew it. It's slipping through our fingers like smoke. The chains of authority that once gripped the leaders tightly are breaking apart, and what's left is raw, unfiltered, and terrifying. A world where nobody is officially in charge, and yet everything needs to move forward. You feel it every day, the frustration of trying to lead when the old levers no longer work. When people don't obey commands just because they're told to. When respect isn't automatic, but something you have to fight tooth and nail for. There's a deep, gnawing doubt that maybe without formal authority, without that clear hierarchy, leadership is just an empty word. But that's exactly where the story begins. Imagine for a second that the old script, the one that says, "You lead because you're the boss," is a worn-out myth. It was never the whole truth anyway. Leadership was never about titles, corner offices, or the power they pretend to give. Leadership is about influence, connection, and the raw force of a person who refuses to surrender to the dull drone of routine. It's the power to light a spark in others, not because they're ordered to follow, but because they want to. Because your vision, your fire, burns so brightly, they can't help but be drawn into your orbit. That kind of leadership, the kind that's still possible without authority, requires brutal clarity about who you are at your core. It demands a relentless refusal to live by someone else's rules. You're not here to wait for permission. You're not here to fit into a system built for mediocrity and safety. The world isn't looking for another checkbox leader, another manager stamping time. It needs leaders who build their influence on trust, on sheer authenticity, on relentless courage. Here's what that looks like in action. It starts with relentless self-awareness. You can't lead others without leading yourself first. That means stripping away every mask, every story you tell yourself about why you can't or shouldn't do what needs to be done. Ask yourself, what parts of your leadership are just echoes of authority you've been handed? And what parts are truly yours? Then pull the plug on anything that's not authentically yours. Next, understand this. Leadership is a relationship, not a transaction. If it's all about issuing orders, you're toast. The new landscape demands radical empathy, the fierce kind that doesn't just say, "I understand," but shows it by tuning in deeply to the unspoken fears and desires of the people you want to move. People don't follow commands. They follow leaders who make them feel seen, heard, cared for, not because of the title, because despite the title. This is the edge where the old authority model dies and something new begins. It's not comfortable. It's bloody hard. You have to build influence by delivering real value, the kind that solves real problems no one else will touch because they're too trapped playing by the old rules. Drop the idea of one-size-fits-all solutions. Leadership now is about crafting new pathways through chaos, creating unique spaces where the rare, the misfit, the misunderstood find a home and a mission. It's about cultivating networks, not of followers, but of collaborators who bring their own fire to the table. And here's a secret. That influence, that magnetic leadership, is a muscle that needs training every day. Forget the old advice about being natural. Natural is just who you started as. Leadership is forged by doing the hard work of showing up again and again, even when the world shouts, "You don't have the right to be here." It grows when you fight the temptation to conform, when you refuse comfort and embrace the raw uncertainty of stepping out as yourself in a world that prefers copies. You're probably thinking that without formal authority, you're at the mercy of ego battles, politics, unreliable alliances, that there's no guarantee your ideas will be heard, your vision realized. That's honest. But it cuts both ways. Without authority, you're free from the shackles of bureaucracy, from the suffocating, slow decay of systems obsessed with control instead of creativity. Without authority, leadership can be distributed, fluid, explosive, a wild current that no system can block. So how do you harness that wild current? You become sovereign. Your will is your weapon because you decide what matters and you don't let anyone else steal your purpose. Screw the rulebook. Ownership of your mission means relentless clarity on what you will fight for, no matter how hard it gets. When others hesitate, when they're paralyzed by fear or confusion, your unwavering clarity becomes the anchor that others desperately seek. But sovereignty alone isn't enough. You must be critical. Question everything. That sounds like common advice, but it isn't. It's the refusal to accept the status quo as sacred. Every system, every tradition, every truth, look at it like it's a lie waiting to be exposed. Challenge it ruthlessly. Not to tear down for destruction's sake, but to unearth what's real, what works, what can create space for something extraordinary. Then get obsessed with transformation, not with tweaking the old, but with creating new realities. Leadership without authority means you're a crafter of change, a shaper of futures. You don't wait for systems to hand you permission. You pull the future into the present with your every action, every connection, every word. This kind of transformation is messy, unpredictable, and utterly thrilling. It demands patience because you're playing the long game. The game that outlasts trends, outlasts noise, and most importantly, outlasts the temporary comfort of authority. And here's a bold move. Be selective. The circle you build around yourself isn't about numbers, it's about quality, about fiery alignment. Find those few who burn as fiercely as you do. Invest in those rare connections like a treasure hunter who's found gold. Because leadership without authority is not about controlling the many. It's about weaving a fierce network of collaborators who share your vision and your hunger. This approach will terrify the old guards. They'll call it chaos, disorder. But what they don't see is that underneath the surface, leadership without authority is the purest form of power, the power born from freedom, creativity, and uncompromising authenticity. This is not a call for comfort. It's a call for war, a war on complacency, on inherited rules, on the soul-crushing illusion that leadership is tied to a desk, a title, or a hierarchy. If there's a silence deep inside you, a tension you feel every day that says, there must be more, listen to that. This moment, right now, is the chance to wrestle control away from outmoded systems and become the kind of leader who doesn't wait for permission, who commands by inspiring fire, not fear. If you commit to this path, you won't just survive. You'll become a signal in the noise, a spark in the dark, part of a movement of rare, brilliant souls, uniting beyond borders, systems, and worn-out realities. Together, you will build something no title or authority can contain. You will lead without chains, uniting individuals who are tired of silence and ready to roar. This world, this moment, is desperate for leaders who refuse to settle for anything less than total, uncompromising sovereignty. Those who dare to question everything, to transform deeply, to connect fiercely, and who have the patience to play eternity's long game. Authority is breaking. Leadership is exploding. The choice is simple: cling to the old world and wither, or rise, unshackled, to become the leader this fractured reality desperately needs. Every second you hesitate, the fire inside you dims. But every second you lean in, to yourself, to your mission, to the rare few who share your hunger, your power grows. The question isn't if leadership without authority is possible. The question is, will you be one of the rare ones who dare to lead this new frontier? Will you become the fire the world can't ignore? Because that's where true leadership lives, not in power handed down from above, but in power seized from within and shared fiercely with those who will follow, not because they must, but because they cannot help themselves. The future of leadership is here. It belongs to those who know it's not about the title. It's about the fight, the fire, the unbreakable will to become more than anyone says you should be. The world is watching. Are you ready to burn?